Live. Dear converted man here. Hello. How are you? Let's read this thing, shall we? I'll make sure that it's on here so you can see it. Yes, it is. Present to everybody. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to be reading this thing by Tom Gilson. And it's from the stream. Atheists Irrational Demand for Absolute Proof. Here we go. I need proof for God, real proof. Well, I would like proof at all. That would be nice. You could be wrong about your God, you know. Atheists have a terrible aversion to believing something that might be false. Oh no, how terrible! That, like, let's just stop right here. I mean, this could be. This is it. I'm done at this point. No, I give up. No, I'm done. No, I'm done. Okay, so why would you not have an aversion to believing something that might be false? Why would you be okay with believing something that's false at all, at any level? Why wouldn't you do everything you could to avoid believing false things? Okay, anyways. They want proof. Yes, that would be good. Total, complete, undeniable, absolute proof. Sure. I'm not exaggerating. Well, you kind of are. My best examples come from people, whatever. So, what this is an appeal to those people that you have used your memory to recall what they might have said at some point. That's probably undocumented and no citation to, so who cares? Even if you had all that stuff, still, this is those people's examples. Like, at best, it wouldn't be all atheists, it would be those atheists. All of whom have dealt with the question with something like this. Suppose all the stars lined up and spell out to everyone in their own language, I am God, believe in me. That would be good. That would be really significant. It'd be really hard to explain that. I suppose you could try to figure that out and you know, see what's going on, but I think that would be pretty darn impressive. They've all said that's not good enough. It might be a delusion. So, to that statement, they've all said that would not be really interesting. I mean, I just said, and I'm a skeptic, so I'm also an atheist, that this would be pretty convincing. It'd be pretty compelling. But yeah, it might be a delusion because if it's just me seeing it, that's a problem. If it's everyone globally, worldwide, and it's all over the news, which it would be, and everybody would be talking about it because it would be, we'd be having hangouts and discussions on it, and scientists would be trying to figure it out, etc. Um, that yeah, then at that point you would know, hey, it's not. If this is a delusion, it's a worldwide delusion. So it's reality at that point. You know, it's like it's good enough. You know, you take videos and pictures of it, etc., and it's still there, and you could look at it with telescopes, and like, yeah, it's still there. So at that point, it would be silly to call it a delusion, but you don't know how it came about. To assume that it's God is perhaps jumping to a conclusion. But it would be compelling. It would be very compelling. It would certainly cause me to question my doubts on God. Other people, maybe not. Okay. Think I'm exaggerating? Nope, not in the slightest. You just said that. Like, so now you're just repeating yourself. Not in the slightest, blah, whatever. Uh, they're being very insistent on absolute proof. Oh no, how terrible! We want proof. Yeah, that'd be great. So Maybe the added science connection. The attitude releases atheists profess love for science. Why does it profess love? Like, can't you just grant that we actually love science? Like, not all atheists, I wouldn't say that, but why does it have to be professed? See, this is a poisoning of the well. It's like, you're just pretending to love science. Oh no! Why do you all love science so much? How terrible. Okay, so which operates on the never get fooled standard. Really? I didn't know that that's what science operates on. Pretty sure it doesn't, but sure. In science, it's this: don't publish anything you're not sure of. No, that's not at all how that works, you twat. This is just an outright lie. In science, that's a simple standard, but it's not the standard. So when scientists publish, they generally report it as finding everyone can count on. Well, no, not necessarily. This is a extraordinarily broad assertion. And they're saying it's true. No, not even close. That's not how science operates. So it had better be. No, that's not how that works. It doesn't always work that way. Some link I don't care about. In actual practice, but that's the standard. No, it's not. The ideal. So the word in science is if you're going to make any mistake, make the mistake of missing some actual truth rather than the mistake of calling something true when it isn't. No, that's not a saying that I know of that's ever been said. How about an example of some scientific thing that says this quote? It's a quote. This is nothing more than a straw man construct. You're pretending that someone said this. Nobody said that. Maybe somebody said that. I mean, you said that, but it's far better to be wrong by believing too little than be wrong by believing too much. Well, now that's not a scientific thing, but I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, again, this goes back to his problem, and it is a problem he has that it's an aversion to believing things that are false. Like, he doesn't like that for some reason. So I'd rather believe too little than believe too much and be in fact I'd rather believe as little as I can and just have a number of things that are factual that I can depend upon on some level. I don't know, maybe the word belief is something I'm just have an aversion to, but why is any of this a problem? Here we go, more poisoning of the well. Frankly, it smells more like a smoke screen than anything else. Yeah, that's nice. Go ahead, poison that well there. Yet even science accepts conclusions it's not certain of. Really? When? When did what? I mean, yes, but also kind of no. So this is a half truth. Research articles rarely say this has been proven beyond any possible doubt. That's because that isn't how science works, and you're strawmanning the scientific method. Hardly ever do scientists say anything stronger than based on evidence so far this appears to be true. That's again because that's not a scientific statement. So you don't know how the scientific method works, obviously, and you're strawmanning the bleep out of it to complain about beliefs rather than facts and stuff. So, anyways, what works so well for science doesn't work for everything. Oh, good. Here we go. Didn't I just talk about this like last video? I swear. Like, oh, well, science only can do this, it can't do that, so it doesn't work for everything. Well, let's just see his examples, and I'll apply science to all of them and show how he's wrong. So here we go. What works for science doesn't fit well with other matters we care about. I don't know about that. Let's see. Everyone puts their stake on things we have a significant chance of being wrong. Everyone? Really? You have proof that that's true? No, you don't. We have to. It's unavoidable. Well, I don't know. I'm sure atheists have chosen to believe things like, okay, let's find out what we've chosen to believe. My education will pay off for me. Okay, so can we put that into the scientific methodology? Sure. Okay, so you look at the bell curve and you go, okay, well, This is the education that people have done in the past, and perhaps even in the present. And projecting outward to the future, it seems reasonable that this education, if I do well in it, will, if I also put it into practice and apply myself correctly, pay off for me. So you could use a somewhat either logical or scientific inference to come to a reasonable conclusion that has nothing to do with belief. But yes, you could still be wrong about that, not because the methodology failed, but simply because life does weird, wacky things to you that you can't account for necessarily. My stock market investment is a good idea. Well, again, this could be based on observations of that sort of thing, fluctuations. Is cryptocurrency a good idea? I don't know. Probably, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, it's a risk assessment, and that would require some mathematics, which would be within science. And so, if you're saying it, if you're saying this, like I wouldn't, I've never done the stock market myself, although I'd be interested in messing around with it a little bit. But I wouldn't, trust somebody that said that. Like they'd say, like, this has been shown in the past to pay out or something. I was like, it's a good idea. Like that's just haphazard wording, anyways. This man or woman will be a great life partner. Why not both? Well, again, this is based on emotional cues that you've had in the past involving that person. And it might not be that they are a good partner for your entire life, but it might be that they're a good partner for some of your life. But again, you could use science to whittle that down to some degree and get somebody, uh, slightly more compatible with you than otherwise. So, but again, even if you believe that, you could apply science to it, and then at some point it become less of a belief and more of a hypothesis. But whatever. My decision to partake in casual sex comes without any negative consequences. Really, that's not scientific at all, and I don't think that there is very many atheists who have ever uttered that. Period. I mean, most atheists, I mean, only based on who I've interacted with, to be fair, are wise about sexuality. So they wouldn't say this. Now, perhaps there is an atheist that isn't in the know for science, for sexuality, but they'd probably be young or maybe a new atheist, newly deconverted into atheism or something of that nature. Maybe their religion screwed them up. Um, or maybe they're just dumb. But this is definitely a straw man. This person I'm hiring will be a positive addition to our team. Well, I mean, that would be based on their resume, which you would research and make sure is true, and you would call the people that are there to tell you about them, and you would base your decision upon evidence, not just, oh yeah, sure, this guy's good. So all of this can be sorted out to be better with the scientific method. So all of this would work within the scientific methodology and or logical framework. Either way, you could still use science for every single one of these to make them more robust, more sure. Certainly, science would negate that statement right away, and then the other ones would be something that you can make more sure about if you did your research on them and applied good methodology. So you could use a version of the scientific method on all of that. So you're just wrong and dare say a liar about all these things. Okay. Relationships, future-oriented decisions, and richness of life decisions. All those involve risk. Yeah, and all of them sit outside the security of certain science. Well, again, this is a straw man. But no, not all of them do. Again, you can apply the scientific methodology to a lot of these things. Maybe not everything, but that's not really relevant. See, you're trying to say that, oh, you guys are using science for everything, but you really can't do that. So, therefore, since you can't use science for everything, then you should believe in God. I guess. That's really what he's doing. They're either about human relationships, the unknown, future, or both. They're not scientific questions. Actually, that could all be scientific questions because the more we learn about the human brain and how behavior is formed, it is nature, not nurture, that pretty much just decides your choices in life. Now, we're not there yet, but maybe one day in the future we could know so much about things that we would absolutely know what kind of person that this person will become with certainly a high degree of certainty because of nature. In fact, if we tinker with genetic coding, we might be able to make sure that the person's going to be a certain way or not a certain way. So at that point, we certainly could determine what relationship the person would want to have because they didn't have a choice but to have that relationship because that's how their brain works. So, but that's kind of futuristic things that we might do at some point. A little bit sci-fi there, but certainly we can know a lot of things about behavior and relationships via science, and those could become scientific questions. There's no proof for anything except in the trying. Actually, there is proof beyond just trying. You could have data. Uh, you could look at past trends, current trends. There's all sorts of things you can do to make it more robust of a study. And ultimately, you can't choose who you fall in love with, perhaps, but you can decide based on empirical observation and, good study that this is or isn't a good choice. You might do it anyways, despite your data to the contrary. But if you were to record it and keep track of it and document it and be scientific about it, you could make some educated guesses there. And then, yeah, it'd still be a guess, but there'd be some proof at some level to it. So, but again, it doesn't really matter because we're not saying you have to use science for everything. That's a straw man that he's created. And even if we did say that you'd have to use science for everything, and then you found things that we couldn't use science for, that still isn't relevant because you're missing the complete point in whole, anyways. There's more critical factor in common, right or wrong, that both kind of decisions that may well determine the course of a person's life for a long time to come. Correct? Your decisions may or may not affect your life, but then again, things completely out of your control can affect your life. And there's, little to no way to predict that. So what? With that in mind, let's add one more to the atheist list of belief choices. Oh, good. More straw manning. Great. There is no God, or at least no God that matters to me. Well, again, that's a huge, humongous, colossal construct straw man there. There's no Yahweh. I'm happy to say that. And as far as a God that matters to me, like, it'd be interesting to find out that there was a God in the first place. That does matter. I want to know what's real. If God is real, great. I want to know about that. That would be very interesting to find out. I'd want to explore it. I'd want to understand it. And I think a lot of other atheists and skeptics would as well. Maybe not all, but I think that it's an interesting thing. It would change how we view reality to find a thing that we actually would agree upon calling God. That would be amazing. It would be a game changer. It would change things. So it would matter. But what I think that you should have said that would have been more honest is if God exists, it's irrelevant. And what that means is that God appears to do nothing that nature on its own can't do, anyways. So every time anyone gets, this prayer did whatever, it's always mundane, it's always dull and boring. It's never anything significant that could be not explained with natural stuff. And then the few times that you might encounter a story, it's usually just a story and there's zero documentation of anything there. So we haven't seen God interact with the world in any way that couldn't be attributed to human actions, nature itself, environmental causes, etc. So if God exists, either doesn't care enough to show us and or doesn't have the power to show us. So in that sense, it just doesn't matter to us in that way. But I would still be interested to find out that it's a thing in the first place. That fits exactly in the same three categories as others I've listed. Well, yeah, you construct strawman all of this, so good job. It's a it's a decision about a personal relationship. Oh, please, no. No. Belief in God is not a personal relationship. That's an additional belief that you have about your God construct that you're now asserting. You're saying that you can have a personal relationship with God. You don't know that for a fact. This is a belief, and the two are conjoined for your belief in this particular God, which I'm assuming and guessing is Jesus or Yahweh, but whatever, or both. Is it a person's long-term, very long-term future? You mean afterlife? Come on, just say it. Just say it. Come on. Threaten us with hell. Come on, I know you want to. And it can make all the difference the outcome of their lives. Yeah, I suppose it could, but that doesn't mean that it's true. Let's say that becoming Islamic made your life easy. Like you immediately got, money and power and men and women, whatever the bleep else you want. Your body was instantly made in a way that magically transformed you to the perfect specimen of humanity that could live for as long as you wanted, immune to all dangers and sickness, and etc. And your quality of life would be amazing and fantastic, and you'd be able to learn things and whatever, and it'd just be the most perfectest thing ever. Would that mean Islam is true? No. It would just mean that joining it has all these benefits, but it wouldn't make any of the claims true. So that's the departures. Just because something might affect your life in a positive way, that doesn't make it true. And the adverse is also true. Just because something might have a negative effect on your life doesn't make that thing false or true. Either way, doesn't matter. The outcome of participating in something, believing or not believing in something, is inconsequential in regards to whether that thing is real, true, or not. Anyways, so the smoke screen of certain proof. Really? Again, with this poisoning of the well. Huh? The typically will atheists shoot back. Here's more straw manny. No, the relationship you describe isn't real. Okay, well we'll go into that in a bit. But now, yeah, no, I will. I'll do it now. Screw it. Okay, so your belief in God is one thing. Then you add on to that belief that you can have a relationship with the thing that you believe in. That's a second belief. Okay? So the relationship to you is real to some degree in your brain. But because we don't have proof that God exists, then it would follow that at a different level that the relationship isn't really real, not like anyone else uh, would have it. Sorry, I switched things there for a moment to make sure chat was hearing me and everything. So the relationship being real to your own brain is one, I guess you could say, level of reality. I don't like that term because it sounds weird, but I mean it's one tier of being real. But it's just like if you ever had an imaginary friend. And now, when I was young, and even still today, I have imaginary friends, although I interact with them far less than I did, when I was young. But I always knew that they were imaginary. I never said that they were anything else. But I think that some kids had imaginary friends that they thought were real to some extent. I remember Sesame Street had this long running horrible thing that they did with Big Bird where Snuffy was like his friend, but nobody ever saw Snuffleupagus. And it's like, okay, we're tired of you lying about your imaginary friend. He's not really real. And then he turns out, no, he's real, and he was just shy. Like they finally revealed it. It's like, what was the point of that storyline? Like it was so dragged out. It just went for a long, long, long time. So I'm not sure what it has to do with anything. Oh, but Snuffy actually existed. See, they could have had it be that Beeper says, "You know what? You're right. Snuffy is made up, and I just didn't want to admit it." That could have been the story too, but that would have been like maybe a single episode or something, not like what they did. But anyways, so you can believe something and then believe more things about the thing that you believe. My future doesn't depend on what I think about God. That's, again, as far as I can see, that is, well, that's not exactly what I would say. Because I will be affected by my beliefs or lack thereof to some degree. Because my actions will probably be informed by those beliefs. They might not be, but more than likely. So yes, my future does depend on what I think is true or not true to some degree. I don't know what that degree is. So I wouldn't say that. So he's lying there because, I mean, this doesn't apply to me. So I'm the counter example to this straw man. And no, my life happiness doesn't depend on either. Well, actually, I would say that my life happiness is irrelevant to whether or not it's real. It might make me miserable to find out that God exists, but oh well, I'd rather know what's true. And sometimes what's true punches you metaphorically in the gut and hurts and causes all sorts of suffering. But I personally, maybe this guy is different, maybe you're different, I don't know. I'd rather know what the truth is than be told a pleasant lie. But even by his denials, oh, here we go. Why is it he is? Why did you assume my gender? Oh, he places the issue in those same three categories. No, he doesn't. You're constructing a straw man that you're then saying is doing these things. And since it's in those categories, that means scientifically just is an appropriate standard to reach for. So can't use science, therefore believe in God. Basically, that's really what you're saying. I mean, honestly, that's what you're saying. You're saying, well, can't use science for everything, so you got to believe in God. Like, the fact, stepping back, like, again, with my past video I just did on talking about, the whole science versus God thing. Science wins. If God is something that we can find in science, then great, then both win. But if God is removed from reality so far that we can't find it, then it just requires a leap of faith that I'm not willing to make. Maybe somebody is. I know I was at one point, but you have to make that decision. And if God wants a relationship, which is what this guy is inferring, then it would know the sort of things that I require to have a relationship. For one, I need a two-way conversation. It's not enough just to speak to somebody and have them never say anything back. That's not a very good relationship to me. It was at one point because I would talk to God all the time, and it was okay that God didn't talk back. But now I've grown past that. Now maybe you think that's fine or not, whatever. But so the decision to believe or not to believe in God can't be made the same way scientists make their cautious never publish anything that might be false belief decisions, which is a complete and utter straw man of the scientific method. I would just call this an outright lie. This is where the phone would ring and outright lie would show up if I wanted to do that in a video, but I don't want to do it right now, so that's not going to happen. Plus, a lot of you probably don't remember outright lie at this point, but whatever. Anyway, so first of all, the decision to believe or not to believe. This is a common trope in apologetics. You can't, I don't know how many times they have to be told this. You can't just choose to believe in something. Okay? Now, maybe, at least not instantly, if we can at least agree on that. Now, maybe there's one human that can do this, but I don't know who that human is. That would be interesting to I'm sure that person would be scientifically studied because that would be odd. Believe that the color blue is now non-existent. Well, can you do that? Like, just stop believing in the color blue? Probably not. More than likely not. I would dare assume that no one out there can do that. And if you can, great. Let me know how that works and how your brain works. And can you stop believing and then start believing something else? Like, don't believe you exist anymore. Okay, I don't exist. Okay, believe you exist. Believe you exist. I exist again. Great. I mean, how would it work? So you believe based on things that you've been told, based upon pure pressure, based upon group dynamics, hive mind to some degree, what you were raised to believe, what you've come to believe as a result of reading and studying or selective reading or studying. So there's many factors in what gets you to a belief or out of a belief. But it's not just like a thing that you can decide. Now, maybe you can over time brainwash yourself. Like I wouldn't recommend it like as a test, but I've always wondered like could somebody talk themselves out of a or into a belief? Like, could you convince yourself that blue didn't exist? Like, if every day you said blue doesn't exist, and you really tried hard to stop believing in blue, like at the end of the year, if you did it every single day, would you stop believing in blue? Or would it just be a non-result? I have no idea. And conversely, could you make yourself believe in the Lobsterist being the true and right and real book of reality, which of course it is, but could you convince her? I don't know. It'd probably be a bad idea to try because what if you could do it and then you couldn't get out of it or you didn't want to? But anyway, and of course, it's a complete and utter construct straw man of what science is. But why can't the decision to know if God is real be made in science? Because God, at least this guy's God, is not within the provable mechanisms of science at all. Otherwise, he wouldn't do any of this. None of this would be anything that he wrote. He wouldn't have to pontificate. He wouldn't have to lie. He wouldn't have to create strawmen. He just could say, save us all this nonsense, and just say God isn't provable by science. There you go. Okay. Do you want scientific proof of God? You can't have it. Why not? God's not one of those things. How in the world do you know? Well, I don't know what he's got, what his argument might be, but whatever. Anyways. Sort of standard is really relevant to the subject. Atheists use it anyways. No, we don't. You're just help us champion truth, freedom, living government, human dignity. No, I don't want to support your stream. So and I mean, like, I'd love it if you actually did champion truth, but you don't. I don't see how any of this champions freedom. Limited government. How does any of this help limited government? Human dignity? I don't see that here. Like, I don't think that the stream does these things. Oh well, anyways. Some atheists will try a more sophisticated response using probabilities. I married her because the probability of good outcome is high. But the analogy doesn't hold because you construct a straw man that sentence. Sure, we all rely on probabilities when we get married, but see now before, hold on, this negates what you said before. Because you said there's no proof except for the trying. So now there is proof within probability, because probability is a type of proof to some degree. But yeah, I mean, there's no proof, but there is. But I mean, okay. That's the point. No one goes into marriage with the idea there's no chance of getting it wrong. How do you know that? How do you know that no one does that? Like, there is a thing called a prenuptial agreement. Like, people have those. Isn't that basically saying that the marriage might go wrong and you want to protect your assets? So you do a prenup. If I ever got married again, I definitely would do a prenup, even if I have nothing to my name, just because, I want to protect whatever I might have. That's how atheists go about the question of God. No, we don't. It's a complete straw man. But the probability of God, I don't even know how I would figure that out, since there's nothing, unlike a real person that I actually have evidence of. I don't have any evidence of God. Like a human, I do, but God, I don't. I can talk to a person. I can get to know a person. I can fall in love with a person. I can't do those things with God. And maybe you think I can. Maybe you believe that you did, but I can't, because God won't talk out loud to me. That's a horrible, terrible requirement I have from relationships, is that the person will actually interact with me. Frankly, it smells more like a smokescreen than anything else. Yeah, frankly, your straw man is showing. They demand a higher standard of proof of God because it gives them a way out of believing in Him. No, I demand the same standard of proof for God as I do with anything else. The same. It's absolutely the same. My 3 things have not changed since the beginning of my channel. I've repeated them constantly, and anytime I actually get in a debate with anybody that believes, I usually bring these up. Maybe you can find an example where I did. Empirical evidence, repeatable tests, valid and sound argument. Those are the 3 things I require for believing in anything. And you might say, well, what one of those applies to a romantic relationship? Empirical evidence, repeatable testing, and possibly a valid and sound argument. It's really easy to do any of those with an actual human being, because you have things to base your decision on. Did they treat you well so far? Do you get along with them so far? Okay, those are observations. Now you can make them even more certain by recording them, in a notebook or something that you carry around. It's like, what are you doing? I'm recording how well our data is going for later scientific study. I mean, and hey, if she's into that, then she's perfect for me. No, the thing is that you have no proof of your God. And there's no reason I need to get out of believing in it. You need me to have a reason to believe in it, and you need to straw man that I must have some sinister motive, a get away from your God belief thing. But I don't. Just like you probably don't have a reason to not believe in Hindu gods, for example. You might have reasons that you don't. You might think, well, they're not really gods because there's only one God. Okay, but that's a belief. I could say, oh, but you're just trying to get away from that belief in God because all the Shiva the destroyer, you know, you don't want to believe in that. You don't want to believe in Brahma or however you pronounce that name because reasons. That way they can justify it intellectually responsible in some way, even though it's kind of rational. No, it is rational, completely rational to not believe in your God because you have no proof of it, and you offered none. And you had numbers of logical fallacies in here, including mostly strawman. But some question for atheists to demand certain proof. Why do you care? You've already decided what the atheist thinks for them, so why would you ask any questions? Okay, let's read it. I have questions for atheists. No, you don't. Why do you require certainty for God, but not for other rational, future-oriented, and potentially life-wrenching decisions? Boy, that's a loaded question. I can't answer your question. It's loaded. Therefore, it's invalid. Try again. It assumes that I require certainty in a way for this thing that I do not do for the other things. I require the same thing for all of this, is my answer. So, unload your question, you poopy head, you. Why do you want something like scientific proof for something that's so obviously not a scientific question? What? How do you know? I can't answer that one. It's also loaded. You're assuming I want scientific proof. You're also assuming it's not a scientific question. How would I know that it wasn't a scientific question? And why isn't there scientific proof of it? So I would like any proof of at all. What do you got? I mean, you probably don't have scientific proof, but why don't you? What do you have? Is my question. Why are you so afraid of being fooled? Why aren't you? You nitwit. And by the way, this assumes that I'm afraid, so this is again a loaded question. I'm not afraid. I just don't want to be. I just don't want to believe in false stuff, and neither do you. I would hope. Do you just believe everything that anyone's? I'm God. Do you believe that? No, of course not. Why would you? Um, I'll bring up something that reminds me of. If I can remember that, let's try to make a note of so. Bring up no skeptic thing. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. Could your insistence on proof be a mask for simply not wanting to believe in God no matter how much evidence there is for him? What? Another loaded question. Um, there's absolutely no way to answer that question. Could your insistence on non-proof be a mask for simply not having proof in God, no matter how much non-proof you have of God? Yeah, it could be. Could you secretly be an evil, sick, twisted person making money off of Christians? Sure, you could be. But what kind of question is that? What if the fear of being fooled is leading you to the most disastrous false navigating error anyone could possibly make? The commitment to not believe in God unless he proves himself on your terms. Wow, that's loaded as hell. You're assuming I'm fearing being fooled again. And then you're assuming that it's that this part is true, that not believing in God is something that will be disastrous. Why? Just say it this way. Aren't you afraid of hell? That's what this question is asking. Aren't you scared of hell? No, I'm not. I'm not scared of hell at all. I don't believe in it. I don't believe that in a God, but I also don't believe in a God that would have such a nonsense fear mechanism to believe in it. Like, believe in me or else. No, that God's not logical. I would have to think that God is logical. I couldn't believe in an illogical God. I mean, if you could show that God's illogical and that it existed, I guess I'd have no choice but to believe in it. But if you're just saying in and of itself, if I was to just somehow believe in God, I couldn't bring myself to believe in an incoherent God that threatened people with non-belief being bad. That's the answer to that loaded question. What if God wants you to show What if God wants to show you his reality on his own terms instead? These are two separate questions, so I'll answer that one. It assumes that there's a God to show me anything. It assumes that he has terms that are different than mine. Why is God doing that when it depends on what kind of God you're proposing. If you're proposing a God that does not care about me at all, then why should I care about it? This thing that you want me to believe in is not going to do the thing that I want it to do. Okay, then why would I have a relationship with it? Yeah. Why don't you go out with that person that keeps punching you in the face every time they see you? Maybe they just want to love you on their terms instead of your terms. It's so silly. I mean, just accept that they're punching you in the face. That's how they show love. Duh. Well, I don't enjoy being punched in the face. You don't. Man, I can't believe you. Stupid. Would you be open to seeing if he? Would you be open to seeing him if he showed himself to you in some different manner that you've demanded? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, the thing is that it what is that even like? Would you believe in it? Maybe it's going to do some other thing that you're not asking for, that is so easy to do. Like, there's these videos I found on YouTube. So show videos of the clouds. Let's see. A skeptical comment, cloud comment, or clouds video. Okay, I'll show you those in a bit here. But this is so vague. I can't answer this, and it assumes so many things about God. But it wouldn't be enough. See, I could not do a personal revelation. It just wouldn't be good enough. Because who cares about just little old me? That something amazing could potentially happen that for whatever reason I'm unable to document. But I would try my best, but maybe I didn't have the presence of mind. I've said this sometimes to theists: get my computer screen to levitate, then I'll believe in God. Oh, but would you really? Yeah, that would do it. Get it to do it right now. It didn't happen. Okay, dear God, please make my screen levitate to show that you exist. Didn't happen. Okay. Oh, it wasn't sincere enough. You're not allowed to test God. You're asking God for proof that it doesn't want to give you. Why not? If I ask one of my the subscriber people, Main Gun or Tiger Dragon, I don't know who Trock Bronze is, Johnny Drive By, if I ask any of these people if they're at my house, right, and they're chilling out next to me and we're doing stuff, whatever, and I go, hey, lift up my computer screen. Now, because they like me, they'll probably do it. I mean, maybe not. They'll be like, why? Just do it. Stop asking me. Just do it. I'm trying to make a point in my video, damn it. And they'd be like, all right, because I'd be recording them or whatever. I don't know. They're like, look, we're doing a video. Can you lift up my computer screen? Sure. Done. They wouldn't be like, no, I'm not going to do that. Maybe they would. I don't know. But I don't think that they're that way. I think that they're pretty good people, so they probably would. Would you be open to the evidence that God has actually given? This assumes that there was evidence that God gave, which I don't think it did, because if there is, what evidence are you talking about? What the bleep are you talking about? I don't know. You didn't offer me anything here. And then this is adapted from this used by permission. So I guess you didn't really write this, or maybe you wrote it somewhere else or rewrote it. I don't know. Whatever. Screw this guy. I would love to debate you, Tom Clinton, to just completely dismantle all your stupid stuff. Let's go to the skeptical comment now, if I can find that. Okay, let's see. Oh my word! Oop! I hiccuped. That's great. I love live streaming. Never know what's gonna happen. Where is it? It's buried. It's buried in the past. It's buried in the past. It's buried in the past. Tide Pods. Huh? What? I'm not gonna be able to find it. It's so far back in the past that I'm not gonna be able to find it. My brain, it hurts. I love these comments. Oh, this one person completely got me wrong on a comment I made about the Mr. Rogers Neighborhood movie. So I just deleted my whole comment. I was like, screw him. You don't understand what I said. Let's see. Great comment. Okay, that's not. Where the hell is the skeptic thingy? Oh God. Hey, remember when I said I was going to find that thing? Yeah, maybe that was a bad idea. This is great. This is entertainment. You are entertained by me looking for a thing. If you're not, then just believe. Just start believing it. Oh God. No, S doesn't do it. Control. Let's see. Skeptic. SKEP. No, don't save. T. SKE. I don't know how to spell skeptic anymore. My brain turned off. 1 out of 4. Where? Show me. Fire. You know what? I'm not gonna be able to. I want to find it so badly now. I've invested too much time to screw this. There's a fallacy about that. Like the more time you invest in something, the harder it is to get out of it. Like you know it's bad. Like you're like, yeah, this is, but F me. Oh, okay. All right, here we go. I found it! Yay! I found it. I found it. Let's oh, it's showing me the quotes. Okay, so you guys can see that. Okay. Oh no! Shoot! I hate everything. I hate everything. Wait, I know how to get to it. Who dares there. Okay, I'll come back to the chat here. Okay, this. Okay, let's scroll down. We're gonna blah. Here we go. Okay, so here's the comment. Hoping you guys, gals, robots can read it. There's really no reason to be a skeptic. I'll never understand why people are. Everything logically and reasonably points to the existence of God. I think skeptics are looking for reasons not to believe in God because of pride. Oh man, so many beliefs. I mean, isn't that just what we read? Isn't that exactly basically what we just read? So I said, I'm God. Are you skeptical of that statement? Now, you might be you're smart. I know that my audience is smart. You all know why I asked what I just did. Why? He said this. There's no reason to be a skeptic. There's no reason to be a skeptic. I'm God. There's logical, historical, philosophical, scientific reasons to be skeptical of the statement. Beyond that, there are reasons to flat out deny that statement. Are you looking for truth, or are you just wanting to spew idiotic analogies completely irrelevant? And I said, but you said there's really no reason to be a skeptic. Now suddenly there are, and that was the last we ever heard of him. Anyways, so the other thing, let's see if I can find it. I think it was proof God exists. Let's do that within this week. Cloud. Oh, good. Let's make it hard to find the thing that I want to show. Dang it. How about proof of God? This is going to be another one where it takes me forever to find the damn thing that I want to show you guys just to prove my point. Here we go. Yes. No, that's the guy. Oh, don't worry. I'll get to this video. This is coming up. Don't worry. I'll be responding to this video. Okay. Not the one I was talking about though. Where is it? There we go. Here we go. So this whole channel, the whole channel is clouds. Like everything. Clouds. So the guy is like, in this particular one that I found, in that video, he's like, God, show yourself and like make a face in the clouds. And then like he finds a face in the clouds and goes, it's good enough for me. So like I forget what the hell point I was trying to make with this. But yeah, for some people that's enough, but it's not for me. I mean, that's not good enough for me because we see faces. He also, by the way, in that same video, is like, or have the number 313 because John 3, whatever it was, and that didn't show up. But see, it's like, oh well, you did the one thing. I'm gonna tell you something a little bit embarrassing, okay? As I try to find the chat room so I can respond to all of you. When I was young, I prayed to God that God would. I wrote the word God in the dirt with like a stick or something. And I was really young, and I was like, "Okay, God, if you're real, then this will be here tomorrow." The next day, it was gone, just gone. Now, based on my memory of this, which is of course going to be flawed to some extent, because it was years ago. I mean, like, I don't know how old I was, 8, somewhere, maybe 9, maybe a little bit younger. But at any rate, I saw that the ground was, where I wrote God, was blank, just dirt now. Wasn't wet, so it hadn't rained, or if it had rained, it had dried really fast, which is possible. But at the time, I said to God out loud, I said, "Okay, God, now I know you exist, and you're just doing this to frustrate me, to make me prove you exist." And that's some serious cognitive dissonance there. It's a no lose situation, because if I had found God, the word God, then God exists. If I didn't find it, then I make the excuse that it's because it's a test from God. So I say it's embarrassing because, this is from when I was a believer. And I think that that's what belief can do to people, is make you so twisted in your brain that that sort of reasoning makes sense. Okay, so now to respond to comments. Okay, Tiger Dragon. The problem with having too much faith in facts, they're always changing. Well, no, not exactly. Facts are facts. Facts never change. Whatever fact is, like, there's probably a few things we could call fact, but with science, we're always updating our knowledge, perhaps. But that just means we're gaining more knowledge about that. That doesn't mean that it's that like that sort of mistrust, or however you want to put it, I think is common for people to have. Is like, well, today we thought that AIDS was uncurable, but tomorrow it might be curable. Well, there's treatments that they have already developed for it, and there's treatments for certain types of cancers. Like, they've mutated, or they hijacked measles and made it like kill certain types of cancers. And they also tinkered with like, I think the HIV thing, and made it not give you HIV, but instead fight cancer, and only certain types, not like every type, because there's different things, and it's still in the experimental stages. But there's a thing where it's like, if you're lucky enough, in a way, you're unlucky because you have the disease, but you're unlucky to have cancer, but lucky enough that you qualified for their test and their thing worked on you. You wouldn't care that it was still developing science because you'd be cured, right? So I think that it is reasonable to be okay with an ever changing knowledge of reality, because hopefully tomorrow you'll learn something that you didn't know today, but you might not. But in that sense, we're always updating our knowledge, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with accepting things. But at some level, like, you don't just go, well, this is always going to be true. That's not how you do that, and I don't think anyone does, but maybe someone does. I was reading about the creator of the scientific method, and he was a psychopathic killer. Okay, that might be true. Doesn't make the method good or bad. It's kind of like the appeal to Hitler. Like, Hitler said this, Hitler had a mustache, so having a mustache is bad. Doesn't matter. What the person did is irrelevant. Well, all that matters is the argument. All that matters is, does the system work? Yes or no? Let's see, Trock Bronze. I would not apply the word faith to science. It's rather different than religion. I completely agree. Main gun, behavior is empirical. Yep, Johnny says hi. If God's omnipotent, it would be on his terms. Am I right? Well, I think God is impotent. I think that's the problem. You need some erectile dysfunction help there. Are you still debating God for the atheist? God told me that God can't prove it exists. I saw him appear on Jeremy Spry's channel. I'm like, oh, hey, you're going to have fun with this guy. I'm like, good luck with that. Oh, yeah. Oh, Johnny was saying, yes, he did that. I see Ozzy Osbourne on stage in the clouds. Hey, did they finally prove of God? No? Oh, darn. Maybe next time. Yeah. Okay, that's it. I'm caught up to chat. I guess there was no questions directed at me or anything about this. So, to the author of this, who will never watch my video or care about what I did, more than likely, I would say, screw you. Screw your loaded, irrelevant questions, and your construct strong. And yeah, I called you a poopy head, and I insulted you, calling you a nitwit. Those insults don't matter. Those are irrelevant. Those are erratic dialogue. I can promise, if we ever debate, that I wouldn't do that to you during the debate. Totally would afterwards, though, because I don't like you, because you strawmanned me. I don't think you would like it if I said that the reason you believe in God is because you're afraid that when you die, there's nothing else, and that fear is what makes you believe in God. You wouldn't like that. See, that's the thing with atheists. Like, I don't see. And maybe you have an example. If you do, let me know in the comments or in the chat, whatever. If you've ever seen, and I suppose somebody could write an article pretending to be an atheist, so it might be out there. But an atheist saying, well, theists, they just believe in God because of, fill in the blank, or these sinister motives that the theists attribute. You like the comment I showed you all. You're just full of pride. That's why you don't believe. You don't believe because of this, or you don't believe because no, we don't believe because there's no reason to believe. But they can't believe that because they have to believe that there is a reason to believe, which is weird because that's actually the opposite, at least for the Christian Bible, of what Christianity exemplifies. Faith without any evidence at all is scriptural and endorsed and supported. Doubting Thomas, who I played on a Cite to an Atheist video, see my playlist of video Cite to an Atheist stuff, that playlist. Put it in the chat because I want to self-promote myself. Self-promote myself. Yeah, that's what I said. But Doubting Thomas pokes at Jesus's holes and says, "Okay, I believe that you're Jesus now." And then Jesus says, "You're blessed, but even more blessed will be those that believe without sin." So that's written to the people reading that. That's not that conversation never happened, anyways. But Doubting Thomas is a construct strawman, a construct skeptic. He's not a real skeptic. He's not a true skeptic. I hate to throw those in there, but he doesn't behave in a skeptical manner. Not really. Kind of does, but in a weird way. It doesn't really make sense. And Jesus is saying to the construct skeptic, yeah, you believe because you saw, but it's better to, it's more blessed. That's what blessed is. It's better that you believe without seeing. So it's absolutely biblical to have faith without any evidence, and that is a good thing. And so a decent argument, although there's problems with it, a decent argument for Yahweh could be Yahweh requires faith. There's no proof of God, therefore Yahweh exists. Something like that. I need to make it a little bit, but you could sharpen that up. Okay. Can't find my damn thing. Why is it not here? Is this hidden, or is it just not? I don't know. It's not on my main. I don't know. Anyways, there's my playlist. All right, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if theists are strawmanning us because deliberately or not, or if that's just really what they think our position is. Just lately on Twitter, this guy was like, "I want to ask atheists like what video best explains why they don't believe in God," and this one person said, I don't believe you're sincere about that," which I've come to be rather jaded about that, because it's like you can easily find on YouTube or on the internet stuff that atheists have written. So if you're really interested in learning what atheists believe or don't believe, it wouldn't be that hard. You don't have to tweet out, "Hey, tell me, I don't know why you don't believe." Yeah, come on, really? You didn't look, maybe you didn't look into it, but it's just that I've seen that so many times that I get kind of jaded about it. But I did throw my deconversion story video in response to it, because that's my answer. Is I used to believe that we had evidence. We don't. So I don't believe anymore because there's no evidence. And the argument that you just have faith to believe, it's not good enough. And that might be how God really is. Maybe God just wants people to believe in it because of faith. Or maybe God doesn't believe in us. That's an interesting idea, I think. Maybe God is so abstract and so bizarre that, you know, you wouldn't even know it if you saw it. Who knows? But regardless, we don't have any empirical evidence or repeatable test. We certainly don't have a valid and sound argument. So we need to be skeptical of the conclusion of this guy that did this. I forget his name now. I don't care. His name is Nitwit now. So thank you for listening. Thank you for participating in chat. Your comments are appreciated. Your comments on the video, once it's a video, are also appreciated, and feedback is loved. Constructive criticism is welcomed. And if you want to do a thing with me, let me know. You can email me. You can poke me on Twitter. You can say, "Hey, Deconverted Man, I want to do a thing with you." I might do part 2 of the thing that I did before. Now that I've got my microphone decently working a little bit, I think it sounds a little bit better. Let me know if it doesn't. And I said the thing that I usually say at the end, so I'm going to put Finn here, and then I'm going to close this, and that will be that. Good night. Goodbye. Here we go. Whee! Push.